He's trying. Oh, he is trying. He is trying to come back from the woke cemetery. The biologists at Woke U, they have been working overtime the last 3, maybe 4 months, trying to save his career. His pulse running below 60. Blood pressure has plummeted. Doctors, they could really use a defibrillator right now. It would at least give his media career a slim chance of being shot back to life. But of course, those tools are banned at Woke Baptist Hospital. Because we gotta save the planet. I know this could possibly save his career, but is it really worth the risk? We must consider the birds, the carbon emissions from using this evil electric tool. It could pollute the air. How will Megan Rapinoe ever hit puberty and impregnate Sue Tweety Bird if they're breathing toxic fumes? The family's been called in to say their goodbyes. His brother, Andrew Cuomo, even made the trip. For some reason, he showed up in a disguise. He borrowed one of Joy Reid's wigs, disguised himself as Andrea Cuomo. I'm not sure why. Perhaps he's running from the law to escape new charges, or perhaps he was inspired by Rachel Levine and has fully embraced his inner woman. Whatever the case may be, we are gathered here this morning to eulogize and lay to rest the mainstream media career of Christopher Cuomo. Oh, it's so sad. Oh, so sad. Chris Cuomo, he was such a unique shitfuck. As you guys know, the virgin community is full of followers, full of groupthink. When lonely men on Twitter are taking a break from being offended and looking to have a good time, what do? They send out cucumber emojis, sending their woke mating call to their lonely male followers, hoping to catch a stiffy. Chris Cuomo, he was different. Instead of using the typical cucumber emoji, he would take shirtless selfies with a cigar in his mouth. This is what they call a dual signal. The cigar signifies Chris Cuomo is ready for a round of forehead fellatio. What color are most cigars? Brown. Longtime viewers of the channel, you already know this signal. Pound that brown. It wasn't that long ago. Chris Cuomo was one of the biggest stars in the mainstream media. He was number 1 on CNN for a short period. He was number 1 in cable news. Primetime with Chris Cuomo was routinely averaging over 2 million viewers. For some reason, during the peak of Fauci Fucks America, confused, uneducated people, they thought Chris Cuomo was some expert on combating the lizard. This always confused me. Just because Christopher was close with the lizard, it didn't mean he had all the answers. I mean, he wasn't a biologist. I don't take medical advice from people who struggle to properly identify women. He might be an expert in certain parts of the male anatomy, but when someone tries to convince me that Rachel Levine is a woman, I am not taking their advice in combating reptiles. Members of Woke United Methodist, they saw it differently. To them, Chris Cuomo was a deity. They claimed his segments on the Kobe were informative, comedic, entertaining. Let me show you some examples of what the shitfucks call entertaining journalism. Roll the film.
Your brother predicted a ventilator shortage. He said he needed 40,000 ventilators or people would die. That shortage never materialized because the president engaged the private sector and the government to create the equipment, the PPE, the gowns, the gloves, and the ventilators that we need. And so, listen, Chris, I find it curious. Speaking of your brother, you're going to ask me these self-righteous questions and talk about people taking it seriously. Does this look like a couple of guys who were taking it seriously? You had your brother on for the Cuomo Brothers Comedy Hour, joking about the size of the Q-tip that you would need for his nose to get a test.
It was funny as hell. It's very rare for a family to be one and done. Christina now has COVID. She is now positive. And it just breaks my heart. It is the one thing I was hoping wouldn't happen, and now it has.
Yeah, well, look, it's something we talked about, right, when this first started. It's very hard for a person to quarantine in a home and other people not to get infected. That's why we talked about people who quarantine in hotels. They quarantine in a hotel room. The food for 14 days, the food that comes in, they don't even take the plates out for 14 days. I mean, you want to talk about intense quarantine.
Wanted to encourage people to get tested, and some people are afraid it's going to hurt. So you had video of it that I want to show the audience of you actually getting tested. Here it is. There's you. You were kind of funny, and they were testing you. Now, a few questions about this process. First of all, is it true that when you were having the test administered, you inhaled and the doctor's finger went all the way up your nose and got stuck and had to be released with a tool? Is that true?
Oh, Chris, please stop. You're just too much. I thought I was watching Chris Farley instead of Chris Cuomo. How do you tell these jokes with a straight face? I could not stop laughing when that birthing person pulled a supersized cucumber out of your brother's nose. For a second, I thought they were pulling the cucumber out of his bongo. His ass and face, they look so much alike, and both had the ability to produce toxic fumes. For the last 3, maybe 4 months, Chris Cuomo has pleaded for relevancy. He's like the needy ex-girlfriend begging for the attention of her former lover, refusing to accept the fact that he's already moved on. Chris Cuomo started a YouTube channel, bringing in supposed A-list celebrities to boost his viewership. Bob Costas, he interviewed the whoopee cushion from The View, Andrew Yang, Alec Baldwin, high-profile guest after high-profile guest. In the span of 4 months, with the assistance of his celebrity friends, Chris Cuomo amassed over 500,000 views on this platform. Casey, that is amazing! This man is a hot commodity! Lonely men everywhere are clamoring for another shirtless selfie. For comparison purposes, the dude that you're watching right now, sitting in his home studio with no help from celebrity guests, no promotion on social media, no friends in the mainstream media helping boost his numbers, this dumbass had nearly 1.5 million views last month. The Chris Cuomo project was meant to serve as a promotional tool for his exciting debut on NewsNation. NewsNation was formerly known as WGN, a station that I watched with regularity growing up because they were home to the Chicago Cubs. NewsNation, available in over 80 million homes. The network is relatively new, but they are not relatively struggling to attract an audience because they have none. But that's okay. Executives at NewsNation had a master plan. We are going to entice Chris Cuomo to grow our audience. Smart television executives, they would have realized it wouldn't take much enticing to get Chris Cuomo to join the network. He is an attention seeker who's had his fix taken away. He no longer has 2 million lonely men watching him every night in prime time. He's been off television for 10 months. All that was needed to get Chris Cuomo was a bi-weekly supply of cigars and plenty of lube. Matter of fact, NewsNation, they could have offered to have Chris Cuomo pay them to get on their platform, and he would have accepted. Instead, they offered this dude $1 million a year to build something special on their network. Chris Cuomo debuted in primetime Monday night. This was heavily promoted. In his opening segment, the supposed high-profile superstar, he spent minutes explaining to his audience who the hell he was. Watch for yourself.
I was raised by a giant named Mario Cuomo. He's gone, but his legacy lives on in me, my brother, my sisters, all our kids, my mother, and so many members of the old Democratic Party. Now you add to that the fact that I've been doing this job for more than 20 years. Don't let the makeup fool you. I was #1 at CNN. I held high positions at ABC News for a dozen years before that, and I began at Fox News. The hope is to get viewers like you more involved and empowered. That's why I'm at NewsNation. It's new. No groupthink established here. No audience that has been conditioned to favor one team or ideology.
I happen to agree, Chris. You had a couple of freshly dropped turds in that segment, but there was one nugget of truth included. 2 simple words that you said. No audience. Truer words have never come out of that orifice in your face. For the last few months, Chris Cuomo has promised the handful of people that still care that they are going to get a new Chris Cuomo, out with the old, in with fresh cucumbers. To his credit, He seemed to be more humble, but that tends to happen when you go from having a bed filled with identifiers every night to waking up every morning next to unused vegetables. He invited his audience to join him as a free agent. This again, another dual mating call. He's telling his viewers that he is no longer affiliated with Woke United Methodist. Not by choice, of course. Chris Cuomo, he was forcefully evicted from the dump. He is also telling his lonely followers that he is single and ready to mingle. He followed up his opening segment by shocking viewers again with common sense. I'm being serious. Watch for yourself.
Social media is not reality. And people like me in the media, we should have never relied on social media as vox populi, the voice of the people, because it isn't. In a recent survey, less than 20% identify themselves as strong Democrat or strong Republican. Less than 20%. The fastest growing part of our electorate is those of you who don't identify with either party.
Chris, let me tell you your problem. Everything that you just said, 100% true. But here's the thing. The rest of us, we have known this for years. We have been saying social media isn't real for years. Twitter, not real. Facebook, not real. Hell, the only people left using Facebook are women nosing in the business of other women and lonely dudes vying for their attention. The heavily promoted debut episode of Chris Cuomo Career on Life Support drew 147,000 viewers. Last place. In the Key 25 to 54 demo, he drew 8,000. Why? Why is this show dead before it even gets started? Well, KC, it's because he's on a struggling platform. No one can draw an audience on NewsNation. Bullshit. Excuses are for failures. You could put Chris Cuomo back on CNN, he wouldn't draw an audience. He has a problem that more than likely will never have a solution. Chris Cuomo has a credibility problem. Normal people like us will never believe him. He spent too much time spreading and promoting propaganda. You can't spend years lying to your audience, come out and claim to be a changed man, and expect people to believe you. Chris Cuomo will never be accepted by normal people, and like I said earlier, he has been evicted from the community of dump divers. Shitfucks are not going to tune in to watch Chris Cuomo speak truth and common sense. These people are allergic to reality. It gives them nasty hives and rashes. They don't want to use their lotion for skin care. They consider it wasteful. Lotion is only to be used for purposes of pleasure. I give Chris Cuomo 6 months and he will be off the air. Not because NewsNation will fire him or buy out his contract. This network, they can't draw flies to freshly dropped turds. Even though he was in last place Monday night, his ratings were 3 times the normal average on NewsNation. I give Chris Cuomo 6 months because I don't think his ego can handle the failure. That is a tough, bitter pill to swallow. Going from the pinnacle of success in the mainstream media, drawing 2 million on a nightly basis, to not being able to draw 200,000, that is tough. I almost feel bad for Chris Cuomo. Almost. Then I realize I never feel bad for a shitfuck. But let me know what you think. According to the Daily Beast, the debut of Chris Cuomo was highly anticipated. It was so highly anticipated that no one watched. Give me your prediction. How long does he last on NewsNation? Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.